What's up, YouTube? This is Strydent, and I am bringing to you a review. I know I'm kind of a little bit later than others, but I'm giving you these reviews in real time. I just managed to get DC Universe Classics Wave 16, and it's a pretty big-ass disappointment. So I'm going to go through and, point out what my situation was with them. As a lot of you know, DC Universe Classics have been marred with a lot of QC problems. In my Wave 16, the only good figures were Jonah Hex and Asbats. The rest were complete and utter shit, and it was really lame reasons too. My main issue with this wave was the packaging, and the way the figures were packaged. It almost doesn't make sense when you think about it that at Wave 16 of a wave that had, or of a collection or a line that had issues in the first wave and second wave, QC issues I'm talking about. You'd think by now they'd have this shit under control. I mean, there's 6 figures and 4 out of the 6 had issues. And I'm actually being generous because my Jonah Hex, I put him in the freezer because a lot of the joints were stuck. And he's made of a cheaper, lighter plastic than all the rest of them. He doesn't have the ab crunch. He doesn't have the double jointed knees like Robin, Asbats, Creeper, and Mercury have. He doesn't have the double jointed elbows. He kind of has the old school articulation from the DC Superheroes line about, 5 years ago or 4 years ago, something like that. 5 years ago? I don't know, I don't remember, a while ago. It kind of sucks that that's what they gave us with this line. I mean, I like Jonah Hex. He's a cool character. I didn't mind the movie, even though it wasn't that great. And it had Megan Fox in it, which kind of takes it down a couple notches. But, I was expecting the figure to be a little bit better than that. His guns were all warped in the package. I mean, it was just some shitty QC. Seriously shitty quality control that spoiled this for me. And, I don't know, man. I'm disappointed. I was really disappointed. It shouldn't be like that at all. The first one in the line that I opened was Mercury. After I cut the rubber bands that are holding him in the box, I went to take him out. Torso first, then remove the arm. As I went to remove the arm, I mean no pressure at all. Snap. Still in the blister. Or the plastic. I'm like, yeah. What? So I'm like, all right, you're going back to the store. All this happened though after I had already taken out the Bane piece, and I'll get back to that later. What's even worse about Mercury in general is I'm not a huge fan of the Metal Men, but I actually like them in Batman Brave and the Bold, and I have a couple older comics that had them in there, and I always was a little intrigued with them, so I've been trying to decide, I've seen Iron, I've seen Gold, and I've seen Mercury in stores near me. The comic book store I go to, Laughing Ogre, big ups to the Laughing Ogre, they've got all these guys, and I keep on saying, maybe I'll get him, and then I get one, and he fucking breaks in the package. Not only was I think it was the arm with the hand that changes, his left arm. Not only did the arm break at the shoulder swivel, or right below the shoulder swivel, his hand, the pegs in the hand that's removable with the scissors, it's the tiniest peg that I've seen on one of these DC Universe Classics. I mean, all of them typically have a peg that is about the width of the hand itself, like on Cyborg, and like on there's a couple other people who have interchangeable hands. And I was wondering to myself, I'm like, okay, cool. He's got smaller, skinnier hands, but this should work because typically this stuff works really well. And it took forever to pop that hand off because I wanted to see how it worked even after his arm broke. And it took me forever to get the thing off, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, say a child gets this. I know these are for us because even though they say they're toys and they're for kids, it's us big kids that collect them. There's still, it couldn't withstand multiple changes. You know, if you want to change his hand and you actually like the Metal Men and you keep playing with him and you keep posing him and you keep marveling at the awesome sculpt because the likeness is there and it's awesome. I mean, you can't really. It goes without saying that the Horsemen are fucking amazing at their job. So I don't have to tell you every time I do a review about a figure that they've sculpted that this sculpt is awesome. The only time I'm really going to say something about the sculpt is if it sucks and the sculpt was cool. But imagine you like the figure and you try to, do stuff with him because he only comes with that one accessory. You pop that in there and he breaks. That sucks. So, I mean, hopefully they fix this. I noticed that a lot of people that did reviews all over YouTube, none of them said anything about these things, or they didn't have these problems, or they chose to omit it because they went out and bought another one. I'm telling you the honest to goodness truth. I bought these about 3 days ago, something like that, and it was early. Is this past what is it today? Thursday? It was Monday or Tuesday that I bought these, or Monday night. So yeah, I took them back Tuesday midday because I was like, this is bullshit, Anyway, on to the next figure. So anyone who knows me knows I'm a Batman fan. Batman was the second book I ever read. The first was Zorro, which is strange. So I've loved Batman and the stories and the characters and the lore and the world and the whole idea of the character since I was a kid, just like a lot of you. So there are, needless to say, there are a ton of characters within the Batman lore that even though I have a respect for the character and that, that world, I don't like the characters. And the Creeper is one such character. I always thought the Creeper was a strange, like a second try at making a Joker that's actually a good guy instead of a bad guy, and I never dug him. So I always imagined if I had him, I'd make him a villain. Screw, the lore and all that stuff. Because when me and my son play, we make up our own stories. Whatever. Pretend this is, a different Earth. I don't know. We're dorks. I'm not gonna hide it. I mean, we're talking about action figures. Whatever. So I get the Creeper figure and I'm like, okay. I open him up. He's in a cool pose in the blister card, which is something that I fucking hate. Mattel, stop doing that shit. I hate when you buy a toy and in the package, it's in a pose. Like, if it has all these joints, the super articulation, let me do the posing. You don't have to do that for me, because every time they do it, something is bent the wrong way, or it's hyper extended in the wrong direction, or something, and it fucked up, and I just paid $15 for this shit, and it's no good. So anyway, I open up the package. I take the Bane piece out because I was really excited. I'm still super excited about Bane, but anyway, I was more excited about Bane, so I took his piece out, clipped it in place, and then I took out the Creeper. So I'm posing him and I'm looking at him and I'm like, maybe this figure's not so bad. And I look at his leg. I'm like, his left leg looked kind of weird. I mean, what's going on with this guy's leg? I move the leg. I bend it, I straighten it to see, what's off about it. It's also bent. His leg was twisted at the actual joint. Like the peg in between the thigh, and not the peg, but the piece of plastic. Whenever you have the double knee joint, you have the thigh connected to one piece at one bolt, then you have another bolt on the lower half that connects the calf, the calf from the ankle to the calf to the knee. The actual peg in the center was screwed up. I had this issue with Ares years ago. His legs were kind of twisted in the package because they kind of had him in a pose with his legs kind of spread out, but his skirt kind of stops his legs from moving, so it was kind of counterproductive. But I wanted Despero and I liked the Ares sculpt, so I kept it. But anyway, back on topic, his leg was all twisted up and I'm like, what the fuck? Now note, when I saw these, I was excited because they were the only ones there. All of them, actually 4 of them, I'm sorry. It was Robin, the Creeper, Asbats, and Mercury were all at my Target sitting in a row next to each other. So I was like, hey, I'm going to get you guys because I really want Bane. So anyway, I see this twisted leg and I'm just like, no. I mean, besides that, the figure's okay. I think all the main should have been made of something really pliable, because it was really heavy. And you know, with a skinny bodied character like him, it kind of sucks because you try to pose him and you've got this counterweight on his back. But I mean, it wasn't that impressive. Also, his waist couldn't turn. I don't know if that's how it is on all of them. I guess you guys would have to tell me. But like, it felt like it had a joint. You could see there was a separation between the crotch joint and the crotch and the waist, lower and upper torso, and I couldn't turn it. And I didn't want to force it because I'm like, then he'll break just like the other guy, Mercury. And I'm like, that's not how it should be when you're paying this much money for a figure. So, Creeper's fucked. But, we moved on to the next one. So we got to Asbats, or Azrael in his Knight's End uniform, for those of you who do not know who this character is, because he comes from the 90s, which is the time period that a lot of comic book fans these days love to shun and act like nothing good came from this time period, even though the majority of what is being done right now in comics is like a throwback to the good old days of comics. But anyway, moving along, this figure was actually pretty cool. I mean, there's a couple little things I don't like. Like, I would have preferred if they did the version of this costume that DC Direct did with the cape instead of the spines or wings or whatever you want to call those things on his back. Because like when you pose him, it's kind of strange, like those things they're not extremely pliable. They're actually really hard, but the rest of the armor is kind of soft, so you can bend him around, and the top piece of his armor moves well. But besides that, the figure's awesome. Strangely enough, with that weird neck piece that comes up around the helmet, his head still moves perfect. It moves better than actually the majority of the other Batman figures from previous lines. And it's funny because this week I also got the Batman Legacy Modern Batman, which was like the repaint of the blue and gray S3 sculpt Batman from the 2006 DC Superheroes line. And he has the head from like the Yellow Lantern Batman. Anyway, I switched heads. I took the head off of that one and I put the head from my Batman Clayface 2-pack, put that on that body, did the cape treatment, and I had a cool Batman. And I was sitting here comparing the two, like, joint wise and articulation wise, like which one is cooler. And still, I like the original, obviously, and the original always is gonna be better, but like there were little things on this that were done better. I mean, his arms have the kind of the Movie Master Green Lantern kind of joints where the joint is almost hidden. There's a peg, and the peg is connected to the joint that's connected to the lower half of the arm. So it doesn't have the range that the regular classics have, but he's got the double knee joint, which none of my Batman figures have, which is kind of cool. Ab crunch works fine. That's it. And the only time, like I've told you before, articulation is obvious when you're buying these figures. But the only time I'm going to mention articulation is if there's something specific about them. And like I said, his arms are the specific difference, and his hands. He's got the green arrow kind of hands, because they need to be able to move underneath the pieces of armor. He's cool. He came with no accessories. I mean, I would have liked him to come with like a, Jean-Paul Valet head. But so what? Didn't come with one. I would have liked maybe an extra cowl or something, but instead he came with a piece of Bane, and I'm happy because I was actually really hunting for Bane. So overall, this figure was like, it kind of saved my attention for these guys, because I was, after my third or second fucked up figure, my mind was ready to just give up and take all these motherfuckers back. And whatever. I enjoyed this one, and I still enjoy it. It's a cool figure. I have him standing around in the house, and I'm just like, this is cool. Every angle reminds me of the artwork from the Nightfall series, Night's End series, and they did a good job recreating it, as I knew they would. I mean, he looks almost dead on to the prototype shots. It's as if nothing really changed. Not the joints, nothing. I mean, their joints look almost drawn on, but still, he worked perfectly fine. And now the reason why I'm using these stock generic photos is because I took back a lot of these characters and I only kept, like I said, Jonah Hex and Asbats and Bane. And yeah, I figure for the sake of continuity, I'm going to use some generic shots, you know, from the web. So forgive me for that. Next we have classic Robin. And this is the old school, like original classic Robin head from, like, I don't know, the earlier stories before George Perez, you know, Teen Titans era. I actually never, ever in my fucking life wanted this costume. Actually, I take it back. Before he had an alternate costume, like in the 90s when they updated it with the Tim Drake costume, I never wanted this costume. Back in the day, you know, I wanted Robin because Robin existed in Batman's world, and this was cool because I didn't know there was anything else, so I just took it as it was given to me. But as I got older, this costume is so unacceptable to me because of the whole, like, the no pants. Like, you know how many superheroes wear long underwear and actually wear the underwear and then the tights? And that's questionable enough. But this cat's not wearing anything except for the underwear. And then he's got these Peter Pan shoes on. Even as a child, this mess bothered me. So I never wanted this figure. But once again, in the quest to complete Bane, you motherfuckers always get us with that shit. I went out and I got this. Now, as you see in the picture of this prototype picture, his joints on his legs are perfectly straight. Mine, the knees were touching, and the feet were they were spread so far outward, it looked like his knees were buckling underneath the weight of the upper body. Now, this is how he was in the package, and you couldn't tell because in the package he's kind of in a swinging pose, and as soon as I opened him, I'm like, oh fuck. And I know I heard things online about his feet breaking off because of the way they sculpted those boots around the actual joint. So I guess the peg didn't fit the way it should fit. I mean, personally, I would have skipped this. I would have made a variant or for the sake of function, I would have skipped this version and went back and made the old Tim Drake costume. You know, just give it these colors instead of black. But no, they went all the way retro, and I don't know. So, you know, sculpt wise, it looks like the comics and all, but I could have done without this figure because, I mean, like I said, I'm not a fan of this costume. I know it stands for a cool era in Batman's history, but, you know, this is why all those homosexual jokes exist between Batman and, you know, Robin. So, you know, I'm kind of glad seeing what Rocksteady Studios did for Arkham City with their version of Robin. I can't wait to get a figure of that because, you know, in the Batman Legacy line, they've got the Arkham Asylum version of Batman with like, and he's fully posable and everything. So I can't freaking wait for that figure, and I can't freaking wait for their version of Robin to also creep into the Legacy line. So yeah, this figure was a complete fail for me because his legs were all fucked up, and like I said, it's the only one I've seen ever in the store. A lot of people seem to like this guy, and it's strange to me because there's a lot of it's like the same concept with the Masters of the Universe classics. You know, just because it's classic, automatically it's better, and that's not the case with a lot of characters and a lot of the designs. A lot of the characters look dated, and you know, if you're not like 60 years old, the logic that went into that design back then, which was none, it can't possibly hold true now. And you know, sometimes I don't understand what the attraction is, and that would bring me to the next figure in this line that was a loss for me. It's the freaking Riddler in his unitard. I've never been a fan of the Riddler, and I noticed that a lot of people, for whatever reason, they've been wanting this character, and they've been wanting this version. Number one, he has never been that buff, except for when Bane injected him with the spike that had venom in it. This is the most jacked Riddler there's ever been, and if he was this big, he probably could hold his own against Batman at least a little bit. And we all know he can't, not physically. You know, maybe with his riddles and tricks and traps and shit like that, but never physically. And this is how they chose to give us the Riddler, and people are happy with it. It's a ginormous, you know, it's like Black Lightning or Flash's body with Riddler's head on it. And it's lame because this character should not be that big. He can't stand the same next to Nightwing and be as buff and as ripped as that guy. I mean, they don't even do the same stuff. So already I didn't want this figure, but I needed him for Bane. So I was like, okay, I will just take it, because I also don't have a Riddler figure, because the first Riddler, I missed out on that one. I think I saw him a lot at Walmart, and then by the time I went to get him, he was gone. And then when I checked on Amazon, because I don't do eBay anymore, his price had jacked up to like $50, you know. Actually, everything from that wave, I think it was like wave 5 or 6 or something like that. Everything from that wave was just ridiculously expensive. I think the Collect and Connect figure for that wave was Brainiac. So, or not Brainiac, Metallo. I'm sorry. Either way, I wasn't really happy with this particular slot in this line or this wave. I don't know. I just never was feeling the Riddler like that. I mean, that's the character itself. That's how I felt about the character himself in this, you know, this version. But the thing I didn't like the most is that I couldn't move him. Parts of his arms were gummed together. His legs were gummed together. It was as if somebody put glue in all the joints, or if paint or something, which I don't understand how, because you clearly can see that the only paint application on his body would be his belt and the actual question marks and his neck. They painted that color on there, but the figure itself is green. All the joints are green. You look in between the joints, it's green. So maybe the plastic just didn't dry properly or something. I don't know, but I couldn't move anything on him, and everything felt gummy, kind of like how the Terry McGinnis figure, what was it, it was the left leg, right leg. No, it was his left leg. How his left leg felt. And everybody who's had a Terry McGinnis figure, they know what I'm talking about. It's this gummy feeling. Some of the Movie Masters, Dark Knight figures, the actual Batman from that line, his right leg also had the same issue. It was like a gummy, soft feeling where, like, before you even do anything, it just feels like it's getting ready to fall off. So I was like, I'm not doing anything more with you. Put him back in the box, took the Bane piece out, and I think at this point I think I had one more piece to build Bane. Matter of fact, no, he was the last piece. And I put together Bane, and I was kind of like, holy shit. So you have a loss, because the figure was shitty. That particular one, I mean, there's other people out there that may have not had the issue I had, but I wasn't happy at all with the fact that, you know, I get a character that I don't like that much, and then I ended up not even being able to use the character. I couldn't even pose him. I couldn't do shit with him. I couldn't even give him to my son to let him play with him. Nothing. I couldn't do anything with this figure. And that makes me really mad, because I've been collecting these figures since when they first showed up as DC superheroes in 05 or 06. And I've never had one. I've had actually only one figure that I wanted to get rid of. And that was the blue and gray Batman from DC, the DC superheroes line. That it was like the second or third one, where his arms were really well articulated but the legs weren't, and this Batman kind of had the hunched over head, and you know, you couldn't move his neck back or his head back. It wasn't on a ball socket joint. Only figure, and you can check my Batman collection, 1 and 2, and he's in there somewhere. That was the only figure of all of these that I bought that I was like, man, I don't like this thing, I wish I could take it back. But now I have like pretty much an entire wave that I returned. So finally we get to Bane. Bane was fucking awesome. I had one issue with him, and you know it's easy fix. You just put him in the fridge. The fist that was on the left arm with the venom drive thing on him, it was stuck. It was all gummy, and you know sometimes it happens, of course. So I put him in the fridge for like not even 5 minutes. Took him out, twisted it, pop, it went right the way it's supposed to go. I was able to move him, and it was cool. He is such a huge improvement over the DC superheroes Bane that we got previously, and it's kind of strange that it was that long ago that we got a Bane figure. This figure, in terms of sculpt, almost all his fists, his boots, and his belt and the head are the new sculpt. Everything else is Despero. And he's exactly the same height as Despero, about the same chest size, same, you know, width, same whatever. It's Despero pretty much, but fuck it, it's Bane, you know? It's a cool character. You need him. And then to have Azrael Batman and then turn around and have Bane, I mean, that shit's awesome. And it's a Bane that towers over your Batman, so it's awesome. I mean, you can use your DC superheroes Bane if you have him as Bane before. He's already jacked, you know, level 1 with Venom. And then this is Bane like level 10 with Venom, or level 2, I don't know, whatever how many levels you want to use it, you know. I think they did an awesome job with this figure because it's a very simple design. It doesn't take that much work to make this thing come alive, and they made him come alive, you know. The wire from the Venom drive to his the back of his head, actually, when you're putting him together, the wire is separate because the head and lower torso come with, I think, Robin. So the arm is a separate piece with someone else. And it's freaking nice that you can take that wire out, because I think the last one you couldn't take the wire out. And I had from the Legends of Batman line in the 90s, there was a Bane that or Legends of the Dark Knight, I think it was. There was a Bane that was humongous. I mean, he's actually a little bit bigger than this Bane. And that was in the 90s. And that was when all toys were about 5 to 6 inches. And that Bane was like 9 inches tall. Something like that. He was huge, but he was hunched over, you know, action pose, because he had a punch action or something. But he had wires all over the place. And you could take the wires out of him. That's what I'm trying to get to. But you can't take the wires out of the older or the newer DC universe DC superheroes Bane, but you can take the wires out of this Bane, which is perfect, because how else do you beat Bane? That's a start. You take the wire out. So, you know, you can recreate those epic moments from the comics and from the cartoon series, but you got the perfect Bane to do it. Strangely enough, as I told you, as I opened each one of these packages, I put Bane together. So when I got pissed and I was ready to take them back, I took them back, but didn't think about taking apart Bane. Then as I was getting ready to leave, I was like, oh shit, I need to get the pieces to take back the figure, to take back with each of the figures. But I couldn't take them apart. For once, they made a collect and connect figure that you can't easily take apart. Because my freaking Atom Smasher, it took me forever to get him together, but you pose him a couple times, legs pop off, arms pop off. I mean, they did a shitty job with those parts. Even Despero, I think one of his legs or one of his arms pops off all the time. But Bane doesn't, Calabac doesn't, Stell doesn't. So yeah, I returned all the shitty figures, and I still got my Collect and Connect Bane. So I don't know. I guess that's a little piece of good fortune that happened with this, because I mean, they all were returned defective. No one's gonna get them, and you know, the part that does work is what I have. So anyway, I was like, oh shit, oh my god. But you know, c'est la vie. I say this wave is only awesome if you like every single fucking character in the wave, or if you can't or don't want to go on eBay and hunt down these figures. If or hunt down, I'm sorry, Bane, or the individual figures you want. I would avoid this one like the plague because the QC issues are too much. I would probably just buy Bane off of a friend or get other people's parts if they let you have them, or trade for it, or whatever you have to do, but I wouldn't buy the whole line. It's kind of shitty. You know, like I said, the only figures I didn't have issues with were Jonah Hex and Azrael Batman, and that's it. Now, this is all truth. I do not still have the majority of this wave. I took them back. They were defective. End of story. And I know other people who they got these characters too, and they told me they had some of the same issues. So it's not completely isolated to me. But, you know, I don't know. A lot of people online say different things, and, you know, they want to give props to DC because they give them a product and they don't care. They're fans regardless. But listen, it's a product. Products sometimes, you know, they are aware that we're going to buy this shit regardless of how well they do. I mean, you look at the Kyle Rayner figure. There's lots of details on that costume that are missing, and people are like, ooh, Kyle Rayner, and he's going for like $50 online. I'm like, the DC Direct figure has every single detail that character has had. Each version of Kyle Rayner has all those parts. Why would you settle for a shitty version on a decent buck? You know, you're paying for this. You should not buy that version, and let them know that, you know, as awesome as you guys are as sculptors, Mattel is making you guys skimp us, and we know that you're skimping us, so fuck you. I'm gonna get that shit from someone else, you know? That's how I feel about it. So, you know, like I said, my collection, it has various, like if you saw my Justice League intro with my figures, I have Batgirl from Alex Ross's Justice line, because that's the best Barbara Gordon Batgirl I've ever seen. I had, who else? There was someone else in there that was from another line. My Jon Stewart and my John Jones figure, you know, my Martian Manhunter, they're from DC Direct's McGuinness, you know, JLA classified line. And I haven't seen a better John Jones. I don't care what anybody says about that figure. The McGuinness version, he does muscles the best, next to Bart Sears, but he has that cartoony feel that some of these characters need, and they have yet to do a figure better than a Martian Manhunter, better than that. So, you know, that's mine. So I'm just saying, if you have to mix and match, sometimes that's something you should do better. And plus, a lot of these DC Direct figures, when you're going backwards, they're cheaper than the DC Universe Classics because they're not what's in right now. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's it off the top of my mind. This was a long review. Stay tuned for some other, you know, stuff coming, you know, soon. And as always, check out my website at www.lordnephilim.deviantart.com. And I will talk to you later. Peace, people.